everybody, Wendy Klinke with, Hey everybody, Wendy Klinke with Blue Cat Studio. I just wanted to say hello, happy National Ice Cream Day, and we are going to be painting this cute design this afternoon, or evening, or morning, or whatever time it is for you. Anyways, this is just a photo of the painting I previously did. It was a small card. I've already stuck it in the mail, so all I have is a digital reference at this point, but hey, the kid who gets that, i.e. my son, is a lucky guy. So we're going to actually freehand this. If you decide you want a tracer, let me know. I can make it available a little bit later after this. I haven't created a tracer, but that's not hard. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to give you guys just a second to kind of get settled, get in. All right, and we're going to kind of sketch this out first. So what I have here is a watercolor pencil, and it's light blue. You could use pretty much any color. In fact, a lighter brown or something might make even more sense, but this is what was sitting on my desk. So I'm going to kind of sketch like just a really light line kind of around the midway point, and that's going to give me a sense of kind of where my stuff is. And so just around the midway point, I'm going to kind of do like a big circle, and then another circle kind of right next to it. So you can see the midpoint is right here. So just slightly, oh, you really can't see that. All right, let's make this darker so you can actually see that. Here we go. And then my line is kind of right here. Gotcha? Okay, cool. So once we've done that, we can then draw another circle kind of on top. Okay, let's make those bigger. Let's make those kind of bunch up a bit more. And then another circle here. So you kind of have two layers of circles. And then you're literally going to say, okay, middle of this guy, middle of this guy, middle of this guy. So make a little dot, and then you create your cone. How stinking easy peasy was that? Whoops, my cone got a little bit small. And again, we can kind of tweak those as you like, but there you go. We've just sketched it in, and this is watercolor pencil, which I like because it just makes things a little bit easier. Anyway, I'm going to just set that guy aside, and we're going to begin painting. So I'll start you on the cones and teach you a little bit about that. So let's grab, now if you have all the colors in the world, something like a raw sienna or a burnt sienna is a fabulous, fabulous color, but I'm working under the assumption that you don't have that. So we're going to work with some kind of a brown, some kind of an orange. And if you have like a cream color, like I absolutely love antique white. You can also do light buttermilk from DecoArt. It really doesn't matter. But off-white is a little bit easier to work with when you're trying to create kind of brown tones and warm tones than it is white. White really makes you, oh shoot, I need to shake that sucker. It was fine yesterday. Excuse me while I just wipe the goop off because it's all liquidy and it's all like the carrier fluid instead of the actual paint there. All right, here we go. Trying again. And then I'm going to take some of my cream color. So again, buttermilk, antique white, whatever you've got. So we're going to mix a light brown, but I'm going to get some brown here, some orange, because I want it to be really warm. And we're going to first figure that color out. Okay, good. Then we're going to add a bunch of the buttercream over here and kind of mix it together. There we go. All right, I want a little bit more orange. Here we go. Okay. Hey, Deb. Happy Sunday. I'm so glad you're here with us. Welcome. All right, so here we go. We're going to just do kind of this lightish brown that we've just mixed. And you're just going to cover the whole cone. And lather, rinse, repeat. You're going to do all of them. Now, if you used a, what's it called? A watercolor pencil to do your cones, now is the perfect time to go right over those lines with your paintbrush. Because what it does is it tends to kind of disintegrate and blend into your paint, which means those lines will kind of go away. And let's see here, a little bit more. So this was a brown, an orange, and an off-white color. You can use white, but if you're going to use white, you may end up needing to add a little bit of yellow to not lose the warmth. Somehow white tends to cool things down. All right, so there you go. Really basic, simple brown. Now let's mix some more. Do you need to offload your brush? I don't even know where my offloader is. It's like the story of my life. Oh, here it is. But then again, I've been doing collage all weekend and all week, so you should see my floor. It's covered in magazine cuttings. I've been in crazy person mode. All right, so we're gonna mix a lighter version of this and a darker version. So since I have this here right now, I'm gonna take that lighter version and, or the cream, and just mix it in. And I'm gonna create, let's see, I did this one first. Just kind of a light stripe right here. Trust the process on this one. It will make sense in a minute, and your cone will look pretty cute, I promise. So you can be slightly inside the cone all the way to the edge, doesn't really matter. We're just kind of doing the thing, and I might thicken it up just a wee, well, all right, I'm messing that up. There we go, that's fine. We just want the lighter tone on the one side. Perfect. Offload your brush, and we're gonna make a darker version of this. So pulling more brown in, pulling more orange in. And I wanna say it's kind of 50-50. Like you really want a lot of orange in there. But otherwise the brown is just too brown. I love waffle cones. Anybody else? Like I snack on waffle cones. Like I don't need the ice cream, I just want the cone. And now we're gonna take that darker color and we're gonna kind of drag it along this edge here. Boops. And drag it here. I'm doing wet on wet, so it's kind of blendy, and in some cases it's kind of lifting. Hey Sammy, hi Pam, how you doing? I know it's crazy, I'm actually live. Well, actually I was live yesterday too. I've just been in a super creative zone these last couple of weeks. And now I'm like, hey, no, now I need to be live. Sammy's like, heck no, give me the ice cream. I know, I mean, ice cream is good, but I just love waffle cones. So I'm gonna dry this really fast because the next part I need it to show up. And if it's too wet and blendy, then we're not gonna see it. So as much as I don't like to use the dryer, you know, on video and live and all that stuff, in this particular case, I'm gonna. Actually, you know what? Let's pause. Let's paint some ice cream and then we'll come back to this. All right, so go ahead and offload your brush and rinse it. And I'm gonna start kind of in the background and then move to the center. So we'll start on this side, that way I'm working this way. You wanna grab yourself some kind of like a bright green. I am, again, loving like Lime Tree from Apple Barrel. I'm like, I don't know, I'm changing my loyalty. I was a DecoArt girl, and they still have amazing colors, but I've found other colors that just make me so happy from Apple Barrel that DecoArt just doesn't quite hit. So now I'm kind of doing both. All right, so for the green, it's a little bit, I actually want a little bit of Key West and Lime Tree. Now again, you could also go with just like spring green. Hold on, let me grab one. I know I'm like all over the board, you guys, but, or sour apple. Actually, sour apple is perfect. We'll just use sour apple. But look at that green. Like, DecoArt doesn't know how to do that color, which is too bad because I love that color. All right, sour apple. Sour apple is actually exactly perfect. And we've got our cream. So I'm going to begin with a sour apple, and I'm just going to kind of give this guy a smush. Just get it colored in. Kind of going around here. And now that you've got kind of your half circle done, we're going to kind of come over here and do a little extra from the scooper. I got really kind of runny and fluidy, but I think it's okay. I'm going to grab a little bit of that antique white, and I'm just going to kind of work it in. Now I could also just use plain white, but I like the slight warmth of that because, you know, when you're doing something with milk or cream, it tends to have a little bit of a creamy color. So we'll begin there. Offload your brush. And while I let that border dry, I'm gonna rinse my brush. Yeah, because we're going to pink. I'm not sure pink and green really make the best mix. So pinks, this one I insist on. Candy pink. No, I'm sorry, purple. Purple, my bad. Lavender from DecoArt. And we're just gonna take this guy and gently come around here, kind of create that half circle. And we're doing this while we let our cones dry because we do have a second coat on those cones to give them the cute cross hatching. Yeah, so I threw an ice cream party for my son's 14th birthday. We did that instead of cake. He really just wanted to have like all his friends in the basement, you know, like doing whatever it is they do. playing art, playing guitar and listening to music and watching videos. And he was kind of like, Mom, I got it. It's all planned out. Okay, I'm going to grab some of that lighter antique white and kind of just work it in. Just kind of creating like a little bit of color variation over here. So I ended up buying like all these waffle cones and all these waffle cone bowls and like cups, and like we had a whole ice cream bar. It was so cool. And then like there was all these leftover cones, so I just would like have a waffle cone as a snack every day without the ice cream. But yes, the ice cream is so good. But I really love, I know, I'm a big dork. Okay, so now we've got those basic colors in. We're going to move into the center. Yeah, this is still wet, so we want to give a little bit more time. No, actually, we'll do here, then we'll do the center. My bad. I'm going to just start with this plain brown. This is Bittersweet Chocolate from DecoArt. Any old brown will do. I almost, oops, piece of toilet paper there. I've been doing collage with toilet paper, so there's a reason I have toilet paper on my desk. It makes the most amazing clouds. Okay, just kind of creating that. Now, that's a little bit dark for me, so I'm going to grab, again, some of that off-white. Just kind of bring it in. I suppose you could do this with white, but again, sometimes I feel like, the little bit of warmth adds a better variation. Hey, Stacy. I love that. Hey, a Wendy Woman. It's Wendy Woman instead of Wonder Woman. Well, that was easy, right? So again, we just had the dark or bittersweet chocolate. Oh, raw umber, burnt umber, whatever. Some dark brown. It doesn't even matter. It's chocolate. And we'll come through and, tweak these a wee smidge more, again, just as we go. All right, go ahead and rinse. This is going to make you have ice cream later today, huh, Deb? Yeah, I know. I just bought some chocolate ice cream. Recently, I've been doing delivery from Walmart because I'm like, I just can't be bothered to go to the store. Plus, I was down with COVID for 2 weeks, so I was like, we're having the groceries delivered. And like, I was trying to get like all the interesting flavors. So I'm using Candy Pink. Again, this one has like it actually fluoresces. So I love it because it's kind of a light fluorescent pink, and you can kind of feel the little bit of titanium white that's been mixed in, and it's really, it's got great coverage. So I love this color. And again, DecoArt doesn't make it, which is why my loyalties are shifting a little bit to Apple Barrel. Stacy, you use Apple Barrel, right? Remember when was that you who was trying to do Tuscan Red, but you used Apple Barrel and it was the wrong Tuscan Red? I can't remember. Somebody had that issue that totally cracked me up. All right, here we go. So now you got your cute pink. I'm going to offload that a little bit, and I'm going to grab, you know what, I want white for this one because the pink and cream is going to be funky. So just a little bit of white. So I'll tell you, when I look at these ice cream cones by themselves, the colors don't do much for me. That's why we have such a colorful background, because that gives me the whole rainbow coverage, because you all know we always have to paint a rainbow. Oh, Stacy, no, I've only had COVID once, and it was in late June. But boy, I tell you, it has a lot of long-lasting effects, But yeah, I got totally into like Walmart grocery delivery at the time, and now I'm like, this is so fantastic. I don't have to drive my butt, 20 minutes to a Walmart and get lost and buy a bunch of stuff I don't need and then come home feeling broke and all that junk. So there you go. So now I'm into Walmart delivery, and they deliver paint, which is kind of the coolest thing ever. Like, seriously, the coolest thing ever. So like when I'm at a party and I'm like, okay, I need like 10 of these candy pinks, I just order them. And like if Walmart from one location can't like provide them, like Walmarts all over the country start shipping me bottles. Sometimes I get like 1 bottle per box and it makes me crazy, but whatever. You know what? We do what we can. All right, now we need a blue. I'm trying to remember how the heck I got that blue color. Was it this guy? I guess so. Yeah, let's do this guy. So we have Key West. Oh God, that's super runny. That's what you call old paint. Let me just double check for an analogous color from the DecoArt. No. Oh, Sea Breeze. Sea Breeze would be a good analogous color from DecoArt. So you can use, you know, Key West from Apple Barrel or Sea Breeze from DecoArt. They're really close. Not exactly the same, but close enough. Mine apparently is very runny, but I think that's going to be okay. And he's trying to kiss the pink. So this is like really electric. This is really electric. But look at that, even though it's runny, it has stellar coverage. Okay, so let's see. Stacy says, I'm trying to collect some more professional tube paints too. Oh yeah, and oh, wait a minute. Losing hair from COVID? I did not know that, but that explains a lot because let me tell you, like I've been clumps of hair like in the shower. Sorry, TMI guys, but I did not realize that was part of it because I've been like, man, I need to get a haircut. All right, so for this one, I think actually I'm gonna try this, grabbing a little bit of the antique white instead of the regular white, and I'm just gonna kind of work that in. And again, we can always come back with some true white on top of this a little later, or, you know, just regular white, but I do like the antique white because it's kind of warm, and ice cream in general is kind of warm. So the subtle, it's still fairly subtle through there. So Stacy, when it comes to collecting the professional tube paints, you know, I love those for personal use, not so much for when I'm teaching, because that becomes a very expensive endeavor, you know, because there's like the Goldens, which are like, you know, basically this much paint for like 14, 15, 20 bucks a tube, which kind of adds up fast. But I also really love the Liquitex Basics. I found those to be really good for the most part. Okay, so I should have done this guy first, but that's all right. We're gonna do vanilla color. So I'm going to mix a little bit over here, and I'm gonna grab kind of whatever's left and remaining. Oh shoot, the blue blob. Whatever's remaining from our cone color and kind of mix it in. And just kind of create kind of a vanilla-y color or light brown. Doesn't even matter if you get it exactly right because we can tone the heck out of this guy. But first I'm gonna just do a little something here. Hey Holly, you spaced and mixed the beginning, but you're here now. Awesome. Well, so from the beginning, I taught everybody how to actually freehand this sucker. And so that'll be available on replay. And one thing I am just mentioning is I sent out an email. So if you guys got the email thing and you decide you actually want a tracer for this because you don't feel like freehanding, just, you know, reply back to my email and let me know that you want the tracer, and I will make one and send it out, and I'll include a link to the replay so you can follow along. Although I know some of you just like, you're like, okay, I understand how to make it now, bye. That's how I am. I just gotta watch a thing and I'm like, all right, we got it. Oh, look at that, I picked up some blue. No biggie. A slightly blue vanilla ice cream. I'll just come over it with a little bit more. I'm just like making things worse. All right, but we do kind of want to create like a little bit of a smush on top so that these rounded parts look a little bit flattened, so you can kind of see that you've got the ice cream on top of it. All right, so I'm going to grab just a smidge more brown and just kind of add a little bit of the light brown in here. Wipe off my brush a little and then grab some of the pure vanilla color and just kind of add it in. Now it just needs a minute to dry because it's a little extra. But you know, I don't like this gap right here, so I'm going to make this little piece of ice cream a smidge wider. That looks funky, doesn't it? It's okay. So it still should look like chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, I don't know, daiquiri ice. Did anybody ever have daiquiri ice from Baskin Robbins when they were kids? That was like my all-time favorite. I would always get the cone with chocolate, raspberry, truffle, and daiquiri ice. So the two flavors did not go together at all, but I liked them both. So I was like, well, I have to have a cone. Or was that from Swenson's? No. That was Baskin Robbins, I think. Yeah, okay. We're good. So I had a little boo-boo there. Let's see if I can just fix that slightly. Okay, let's work on the cone. So we want a nice orangey brown. So 1 part orange, let's do it right here. And some brown. Yeah, in fact, that's more like 2 parts orange to 1 part brown. That brown really darkens it nicely, but we want it to be very warm tone. Okay, so here's where having a nice, basically 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch brush with a nice fine blade is really nice. Oh, Stacy says I'm never brave enough to order 2 scoops, even though it always looks so good. These days I'm a 1 scooper because, you know, women of a certain age just struggle a little bit with that. All right, so I'm going to use this to kind of create lines across, and I'm not going to really worry about it curving and, you know, perfection and curvature and, you know, all that junk. I just kind of want to have the sense of there being a grid on this ice cream. So we're just going to kind of create lines. Now here's where, again, I remind y'all, trust the process. Kind of creating that grid. All right. Now, of course, we got to come back the other way. Boops. But keep it light, right? You can kind of make it almost gestural. It doesn't really have to be all in, all there. So now that you've got that color on, we're just going to come back in and mix into our antique white. And this is where we want a real light color. And you're going to come just directly kind of right over the top of that, slightly above the line, slightly above, slightly above. Here we go, here we go. And then I know I just did those brown lines. I'm going to go directly over them and mostly cover them up. If a little bit shows, a little bit shows, no biggie. But if I bring that up, hopefully my autofocus will kind of kick in. Now, I didn't get those exactly square, but what we've basically done by having the light line slightly above the brown line is we've created the look of a shadow and a highlight from the waffling of the cone, or the sugar cone, whatever you want to call it. Boop. I need like one more line here. Where else do I need them? I like these rectangles. I'm not a fan of rectangles on this particular project. Here we go. Just a couple extra lines. There we go. See? Plus we have the shading underneath. So now it has that kind of cone look. Deb says that's a great shape color. Well, thank you. Oh yeah, right. Okay, so we went this way. I almost went the reverse. I love using big brushes. Now here's the deal, y'all, and I say this a lot to my inner circle members, you know, whenever I'm painting stuff. If you're not comfortable with a big brush and doing big strokes, that is okay. You can always, you know, step down to a smaller brush. It's really not required that you do a big brush. I just find that like the more often that I paint, I've gotten really comfortable with this kind of thing, and so that's sort of what I do. All right, my key lime has gone rogue. I'm gonna come back in here, wipe off your color, doesn't matter, no rinse. Grab some white, and let's add just a little bit more kind of highlighty bits in here. Bing, 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 bing. A little something, bing, 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 bing. Apparently I had a little bit of water dribbles. I always rinse my brush and then end up like coming this way after I've rinsed instead of going around. So I always end up dribbling water on my painting like a ding dong. Okay, here we go. Again, we're just kind of adding little bits of highlights. Now, if you feel like that's getting to be too formulaic, you can always add the occasional random dot. And what we're also going to do just for fun, kind of at the end, is we're going to splatter some white paint on this. Or if you're feeling it with a different color, you can splatter a different color too. Going to be up to you. Here we go. So we've just kind of taken the white and just kind of blop, blop, blopped to add a little bit more variation. I feel like I almost want more shadow in a few spots, but we'll come back to it. And I think I want some in between here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this spring green, a little bit of white, kind of make it, whoops, a little bit more spring green, somewhere in the middle. There we go. Kind of make an interim green there. The other green feels a little too harsh. Wipe it off, come back in with a little spring green and just kind of blend along the edges. So I'm working wet on wet. Okay, that's better. I lost my highlight, so I'll come back in. Again, I just wipe off in between to kind of get rid of the excess paint. But for the most part, I hate rinsing my brush. I don't know, unless I have to. So, but now I'm gonna rinse. And then I'm gonna come around this way so I don't dribble water on my painting like a silly person. Okay, let's do some cherries. So I should have sketched those in, but I didn't, so no biggie. We'll just kind of put a cherry here. Let's put one right here, kind of off to the side a little bit. And then we'll kind of have the stem just go off. We'll do a cherry kind of here. Now you notice I'm not doing the cherry directly on top. I'm doing it slightly forward. And then we'll put one kind of here off to the side. Because there, now it looks like it's sort of sitting in. And then we'll kind of do it stem that way. And notice it's just a circle with sort of a stem just sort of shooting off. No big deal. So now, because I know I had some wet paint, I'm going to take a dried up baby wipe or a paper towel, whatever you've got, to just kind of lift some of the paint that's inside that circle. That way you're not fighting an uphill battle with wet paint. Okay. Now here's where a round brush is a little bit more helpful. So this is a Sargent Art size 8. It's really just a medium round, kind of whatever works. And we need some red. Any old red will do. I kind of like the brighter red. So this is DecoArt Cherry Red. It's a beautiful crimson. You could do Tuscan Red from DecoArt, or I'm trying to remember the analogous color for Apple Barrel. I haven't really studied the reds yet there. There are some nice ones. And we're going to just do a basic bloop. Nice red circle. And we got to let it dry. And it's okay if your circle is a little bit lumpy and maybe even kind of has like cheeks up at the top, kind of a little lump there. Maybe this one will kind of go this way, almost like a heart-shaped top, but a really subtle heart-shaped top. Ah, pretty red. Now, if this is a maraschino, you know what happens is the stem is actually red. If it's a fresh cherry, then the stem is brown. Oh my God, what did I just do? I didn't even have the cherry go to the right spot. All right, it's time for a baby wipe intervention. Okay, that is how I drew it. I just didn't make sense once it kind of came to life. All right, that'll do. And then this one will do like a little. Okay. Maraschino cherries have red stems. Let that be known. Now, maraschino cherries might have red stems, and they also have kind of like a translucent look. So how do you get it to look translucent? Glad you asked. Now it's time to grab our friend fluorescent red. And I realize fluorescent red might not be a color that's in everyone's repertoire. I highly recommend that you get it. And so far, the best, most consistent, easiest to find fluorescent red is the Liquitex Basics. And this is 4 ounces, and it's, well, this one was $6 from Hobby Lobby. So, you know, divide that in half, it's $3 for a 2-ounce bottle. So it would be, well, this is 50 cents, and this is maybe $1 to $1.50. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's so worth it. Okay, so I did not rinse my brush. I just offloaded it. I'm gonna grab some of that fluorescent red and just kind of sploosh it like right there, kind of a spot in the middle. This is my secret to really cool cherries. And then I'll kind of put this one right here, kind of in the middle. I'm really blopping it on because I need it to show up. And I'm doing wet on wet. So there you go. I blopped the cherry. Fluorescent red. And offload that brush. Now, call me crazy. I'm coming back to my friend here, Candy Pink. And in fact, if your fluorescent red isn't showing up, you can always watch this. This is the coolest thing. Fluorescent red plus Candy Pink. Actually, never mind. It was the red. It was fluorescent red and red. Never mind. My bad. Well, okay. So we made that mix. And it warms it up a little. I like that. So we're gonna just take like a little highlight, kind of right. Let's see. My highlight's over here. So little blop, kind of right. I need to let this dry, don't I? Candy Pink. A little bit of pink blop, kind of right up here, above the fluorescent orange. Just a little blop kind of right up here above the fluorescent orange. One more blop right here above the fluorescent orange. And now you have a cherry that looks like it's kind of glowing from within. It's really simple, but sometimes you just got to know where to place the different colored blops. Ta-da. Go ahead and rinse your brush. All right, we're about half an hour in, and now we get to work on the background. And my light blue is gone walkabout, so I'm gonna grab an older palette here. We'll just turn it inside out so you're not confused by the colors. I'm gonna grab a whole bunch of yellow. So my favorite yellow, it's dead, is the, here, Folk Art Daffodil Yellow. Prefer it to be matte finish, but sometimes it's not. So this yellow is a cooler yellow compared to like a cadmium. It has amazing coverage, and it's a really incredible mixer. And it mixes especially well with the blues, with blues and teals to give you sort of pop-in colors. So that plus fluorescent red is going to give us all kinds of neat things. I'm not even going to bother with orange. I thought orange was just good for making ice cream cone brown. So I'm going to come back to my larger brush here. And we know we kind of want yellow in the mid zone. Give this a little blast. My cherries are super goopy. So I'm going to have to just let them get a little further along on dry. The centers I don't worry about, but I need the edges to be dry so that when I come up against them, it's not a crazy mess. Okay. So grabbing a hunk of yellow here. Now this is my Mickey Mouse theory of mixing. You always maintain your main colors here, and then you just grab parts of them and you mix them together. I don't know what portion I'm going to need, so I'm going to kind of create something over here. Well, that is lovely. And I think I'm going to just kind of do that guy right here in the middle, kind of create like a band of super bright happy orange. I got a chunk. What is that? So you don't have to have an exact line. You just kind of want a zone. This is our orange zone. Oops. If you don't like my ice cream colors, you are totally welcome, by the way, to choose your own. As always, everything I do is a suggestion. Because this is a very, like, an interesting set of kind of neutral colors. Not neutral, but they're sort of cool. I don't know, they don't excite me, but when you add the bright orange background, then I'm like, okay, now I have my rainbow. It's all bright and happy now. So the reason I'm starting here with my mid orange is I want to make sure that I get that orange in there, because then I'm going to go darker below and lighter above. But if I try to just do the blend, oftentimes you end up dragging one or other of your blending colors too far in the wrong direction. So I'm going to offload my brush a bit. In case you're like, what do you mean by offload? I just have like a stock prospectus of all things from DuPont. Well, I've painted over it, but I just have page upon page that I offload stuff in. And then when I'm done offloading, sometimes I paint over it. Uh-oh, wait, my screen just blacked out. Are y'all still there? You are, okay, good. All right, so now we're gonna go, yeah, I think I said yellow. I'm gonna go with the yellow because the yellow blends. Kind of work the yellow into my bristles. And I'm gonna kind of just come in here and do a little blendy in with that orange. And notice the yellow is picking up a lot of the orange, which is fine. I'm trying to kind of start yellow up high and then I pull it down into the orange. And if you get too much orange on the bristles, you can just offload and come back. So maybe get the yellow this way and then kind of bring it down in. Whoops. See, again, I keep picking up that orange and then there. So I'm getting in here with that yellow as much pure as I can and then drag it down. Okay, you can only drag once. Otherwise you end up bringing the orange back up. So I'll do a little bit here and then I'll drag them down. So I got to keep offloading that orange that my brush picks up. But at the same time, you know, you can't wait for this to dry, otherwise it won't blend at all, and then you're going to be like super annoyed. But because it's wet on wet, you really can kind of pick it up and drag it around. I hope that makes sense. Hope you guys aren't all like, what is she doing? It's a delicate operation. You want to make sure that you're really getting right up against that cone. Now I hope some of you guys have paint pens. If not, you can also do it with a brush, but we're going to kind of finish this off with paint pens to make it a little bit more whimsical and fun. Okay, now that we've got that, I'm going to kind of continue on with a yellow and move up a little bit here because we want kind of a good yellow zone right in this area here. But my orange is starting to dry, so I need to come in and get blendy on it in a second, so we will. So I'm thinking kind of around the neck of the top scoop, if we call that the neck, because it kind of dips in. I don't know. I'm making things up. It needs a name, so I'm calling it a neck. That's where I think my normal yellow is going to kind of come to an end. And then we're going to kind of bring in some more sunsetty orange again, but we can do that in a second. National Ice Cream Day. Yeah, I might need some ice cream after this. Gotta go test my. So I have some yellow. I'm gonna offload a little bit, and I'm gonna grab some of that fluorescent red, sorry, whatever. It's kind of an orangey color. I'm just gonna come up and edge things. Again, I'm gonna kind of get basic coverage as I touch into that orange because it's still wet and because I have a tiny bit of yellow or residual yellow on my brush. It is kind of doing a cool blending thing. I should have started on this side. It might remind you of candy corns until we get rid of that white, and then it won't feel so much like candy corns and more like a sunset. I don't like candy corns. I hope that's not like sacrilege, but although it's weird, when you eat enough of them, they do become addictive, even though you're like, I don't like this flavor, but I can't help myself. I need more. So I figure if I just avoid them, then I'm good. And here we go. Again, just a blend. So if you don't have your fluorescent red yet, I highly encourage you. If you like bright colors. If you don't like bright colors, then this is going to be an anathema to you, and it's totally not going to be your thing, and you should just skip it. But this is my jam. Fluorescent anything is my jam. And if any of you met me at Paint Party Business Live last year for the Painted Prom, you would know I love fluorescent because my entire dress was fluorescent. And this year, got a very different theme going. All right, I'm good with that. So it's a little bit harsh right in there. I'm going to offload some of my color, kind of touch into some of the yellow. And I'm going to just try to create a little bit more of a blend zone. A little bit of a blend zone. Again, blending is a thing. Like it's a kind of an art. There's also a little bit of science to it, but it takes patience. And a lot of offloading because you keep, picking up colors and then dragging them around, which is why I love having my offloader page available. Whoop. I can kind of remedy some of my issues, but that's also like the beauty of working wet on wet, is you can kind of, and then a final touch up here. All right, that is electric. So I'm going to come back in and I'm going to rotate this guy though, because yeah, I know I'm going to get like my forearm and all that junk and then be really unhappy. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of yellow and kind of create a orangey yellow. I don't want it to be like insanely orange. I just want kind of an orangey yellow. So it kind of goes, reddy orangey to pure yellow and then starts to fade back to an orangey tone, but not as intense an orangey tone, just a bit of orange. I'm going to try and be very precise as I come around the cherry stems. My funky cherry stem that I had to wipe off and redo. Here's where I'm really counting on that yellow to do a good cover-up job for me. But I'm also counting on the paint next to it to be dry so that I don't accidentally pick up those colors, any guest colors in my yellow, because yellow is light enough that it will take on whatever color it picks up or get tainted anyway. Okay. Again, if you want to use a smaller brush, by all means. I had other smaller brushes floating around in thoughts that we were going to use those, but in the end, I always forget and just stick to my one biggie. Again, get the edges of your canvas and kind of just let loose and go for it right in here. Very freeing. Sprinkled the ice cream with Wendy. Yes, Deb, exactly. Oh, you sprinkled the ice cream. I get it. Thank you. That kind of sprinkle. I was like, oh, sprinkles. Sprinkles go on ice cream. Yeah, so by the way, y'all, if you're having fun with this, you know, if you want to share the love, sprinkle the thing, I think that's our term we use, would be much appreciated. Because it is your viewership that keeps this page alive and keeps me motivated and excited to keep creating fun art to share. I gotta tell you guys, I've missed going live. I think I've been in a weird introverted cycle recently. And again, half the time I just want to create art. It's always like 10 p.m. when I should be going to bed that I'm like, oh, I have this idea. So luckily, at least we can, there's recording and I record stuff, but any of you guys ever go through just weird phases where you're like, okay, I'm feeling super antisocial. Introverts unite, y'all. Total introvert here. I know sometimes I come off as extroverted, but really not. Okay, so now that we've kind of got that orangey tone, let me push that up. I'm just gonna kind of lead the pure yellow back up. Now it's not like a screaming orange, it's just not a pure yellow. And it just warms everything up. Otherwise, I found that the ice cream colors to be too cold and kind of boring. Can I say that about my own art? And kind of boring. Yes, I can. Ooh, look at this. My offload page has gotten so pretty. It started off all brown, but now it has all these vibrant yellows and teals and greens coming through. I love offloading pages. Like, they make me happy. Okay. So shoot, I'm getting like fingerprints and junk everywhere from handling this thing. All right. So, I'm gonna rinse my brush. It needs a break. Everything is a bit wet. So I think since everything is wet, I do not want to risk my paint pen. So I'm gonna find a skinnier, whatever this is, the round brush. It's a small round brush, but it has a fairly long bristles. Well, not quite as long as this guy, but you know, fairly long for a small brush. So this is my medium round, this is my small round. The longer the bristles, the more kind of leeway you have to do your thing. So I'm going to grab the white. I'm just gonna get a big old junk here. Oh, Holly says she loved my Technique Tuesdays. Yeah, I did too. I did too. I'm gonna have to kind of find my way back to how do I create kind of a regular thing that works and doesn't burn me out. And you know, 'cause I'm working like 9-hour days now at work instead of 8s. So I'm gonna just do a light outline of the ice cream cones. Cause yeah, y'all, I still have a day job. I still owe them a little time for my MBA, so it's cool. I'm gonna just skip the cherry for now. And you wanna do this with a really light touch. So I am almost kind of goopied up with the white. I mean, I got a lot of white on this brush. And just kind of creating like a fun, and so here's where if you have little gaps that don't quite work, that little bit of white outline is gonna kind of just pull it all together, add a little definition. Again, we're kind of in the whimsical zone, not the serious zone here. So we're allowed to do outlines and fun things. It's where you can kind of add some of the extra shape. Again, you're skipping the cherries for a minute because they need more drying time. And contrary to popular belief, as much as red and white make pink, it is not usually a very nice pink. I'm not a fan of red and white pink. I'm a fan of anything that's got a fluorescent base. So slightly smoother along the top, but you can still kind of make it rumply if you like. Boopsh. Pink. A little something here. Again, just get that outline going. And then I want to add like a little something along here just to kind of Again, emphasize the neck of the ice cream. Yeah, we're gonna call that the neck. That's a weird thing, but I don't know what else to call it. So there you have it. You can kind of keep it loose and soft and all right. Those cherries, man, they are troublemakers. Okay, so ice cream cone. I'm gonna do the occasional white line more on the left side of the cone than the right side of the cone. And I'm gonna do just a couple of little X's here and there. I'm not hitting all of it, just some of it. And then I'm gonna kind of do like a slightly jiggly line. So you want to think of kind of like divoting in anytime there's a box and divoting out anytime there's a line. So here we go. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Don't overthink this. If it ends up just being kind of a jiggly line, that's okay too. That's okay too. And we are going to do some white paint splattering. And I tell you, I feel like the white paint splattering really adds sort of a cohesiveness to all of this. Because, you know, ice cream is messy and it tends to splatter. So I just kind of feel like it's almost ice cream splatter. Yeah, a few spots along here where the cross pieces are just a little bit too dark, or you just want a little extra pop in that zone. You can add a touch of white on top, but you don't want to lose the color that's underneath, if that makes sense. Oh, so right in here wants to be, okay, we're good. So I'll do the cross pieces on this first, and then I'll do the outline. I think that makes more sense. Bink, bink, bink. Yep. And again, I'm sort of focusing it mostly in this quadrant right here of the cone. And jingle, jingle, jingle. I have to admit that going live on the evenings was so much easier during during the pandemic and shutdown when nobody had anywhere to be. Now, you know, like mom of teens, we've got drama this and sports that and whatever. I just add a little extra highlight in there, and I think I want a little something kind of right in here. Bink, bink. Add just a little extra curvature. I like it. Okay. I need to address the cherries before we splatter the everything out of this. So let me give a quick blast to the edge here. Boop, boop. And I'm giving this section a blast just because it stays wet longer, and I keep leaving fingerprints in it, and that's silly. Okay. So first and foremost with my white, I'm going to add a white blob kind of right there on top of the pink. Now I picked up a bunch of paint when I did that because it's still wet. So you want to make sure that that little bit of red edge is still showing. I'll do one more. So I keep offloading after each blob because again, I'm picking up paint and that's fine. So if we zoom up here, you can kind of see that there's a little, it's slightly in the middle. There's still an edge. So now we'll come in with our white outline and kind of hit the edge of that cherry. Oops. Here's where a paint pen really would give a slightly better effect. But again, my paint is too wet for a paint pen. So just kind of a little something. Getting outside of the cherry when you do this. Don't go inside and don't go over. Go outside of the cherry. And it kind of pops the cherry. And again, this is whimsical, so if this looks slightly unreal, that's okay. It's a little bit of the intention. And you don't have to do a perfect outline on the stems. You can kind of, there's wiggle room on that. Okay, we've come to the most fun part. And here's where I need to protect my camera. Last time I did like splatter painting, I got splatters all over the camera, all over my screen, all over everything, but it's okay. So my best friend for splattering is a chip brush. Because look at that, it's just soft and loose, and you got all these stray ends and bits. So I'm gonna dip it in some water, and then just kind of hit the edges so it's, I mean, it's wet. Like you can see, it's left. Well, maybe you can't see. It's left water on my hand. So I'm gonna come into the white. I mean, you don't want it dripping wet, but you want it wet. I'm just kind of working in the white so you can kind of see the ends are saturated. I'm going to grab a larger brush or just some kind of a, like basically a stick. Aim it down. You can even kind of whack how you like. I prefer the whacking with another stick. It seems to give a better effect. I want some bigger blobs, so I'm going to grab a little bit more water. But here's the thing, if you get too much water, you know what happens? It becomes watered down, and then you don't kind of get, oh yeah, there we go. Oh, I love that splatter. I don't know why, but here we go. If we go from here, go low, you get the splatter lines. That is so satisfying. So if I were to brush this on me, you see, well, it's actually still pretty thick, so, but it's just a little bit more watered down. I always end up using my arm to explain stuff. I don't know why, but I guess because I can just wipe it right off. And I think that's pretty much it. So if you're super proud of your work, you can sign it or wait for it to dry and sign it. But I hope you had fun with this. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I love those. I don't know why, but the sprinkles make me happy. Not the sprinkles, the splatter. I feel like it just gives it a little bit more liveliness. And again, if you want the tracer for this, just let's see here. I did not set anything up specifically. If you got an email about this, let me know. If you got a text about this, let me know. Just reply tracer and I will get it to you. The tracer doesn't exist yet, but it will in about 20 minutes. I just need to make it, but I can make it pretty fast. So I did this on an 8x10. I'll probably just send out a small version because it's really fun to do. And again, yeah, 8x10 stretch canvas. You can do this on canvas board, you can do it in a sketchbook, whatever works for you. And I love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. So yeah, I guess, or comment tracer here if you really want the tracer. Oh, Norma says that turned out awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I kind of love it. And again, my original one I just did on like a little note card, like an index card, and then I like slapped it on some paper and turned it into a card. It did. See, Zena, it did. It made a 5x7 card. I did that for my son and mailed him a card, Happy Mail, because he's away at camp and he doesn't want to be there and he's pissed off about the job. And I'm like, well, we'll just send him lots of art. Hopefully that, I don't know. Anyways, love you guys. I'm going to call it a day, and we'll see you on the next one. So again, questions, put them in the comments. I am here. Once I'm off live and you're watching the replay, I will do my best to reply back to you by text or in the comments. Ciao.